All right, welcome back to the Mike and George show. Today we're going to be highlighting what happened in the MLB postseason the last week. Since we last talked, Orion Kerkering throwing the ball away in the Philly season away. Also in the state of Pennsylvania, James Franklin has been fired. We kind of hinted at it last week after he lost to UCLA. It's like, could it happen? Could it actually happen? Then they lose to Northwestern, and it actually does happen. Also, we're going to be recapping some NFL stuff. A lot of upsets last week, and not as much upsets this past week where the Bills did lose, the Chiefs got back on track, the Eagles lose again. So we'll talk about all that fun stuff. But George, we got to start in the MLB. Should we start with the Dodgers-Phillies series, or should we start with that 15-inning marathon in Seattle?
We can do Dodgers-Phillies first. It wasn't a ton going on. It felt like the Dodgers kind of controlled the series the whole way. And then in Game 4, the Phillies played great in Game 3, got themselves to a place where they could maybe force Game 5. And then Game 4 goes 11 innings, and it's just heartbreak. It was a crazy way to end it. You got to feel for Orion Kerkering first of all. He's been a really good player this year. I mean, he's been a guy that the Phillies have relied on. And, I think that if you asked him to do it again, they'd put the same guy out there. And he's just kind of one of those spots where you just get a little unlucky. But, obviously, winners first, credit to the Dodgers. The Dodgers pitching just somehow continues to be incredible down the stretch. And, the lineup is really – I mean, we talked about it. Like, we'll get into it, I'm sure. But Shohei's been just kind of non-existent.
2 for 24.
He had a Game 1 homer in the wild card series, and that's kind of been it. But yeah, I mean, the Dodgers get it done. Kerkering is just heartbreak, but it just felt like the Phillies just never got anything going offensively. It just felt like Schwarber, he finally hit the home run, but that was kind of it. And then Bryce and Trey just completely non-existent. It felt like, and without your top 3 guys, that's kind of how it's going to go. So credit to the Dodgers. Yeah.
By the way, everyone's going to blame Orion Kerkering, and first of all, it's one of the most gut-wrenching ways to end a season if you're a baseball fan. A fan of a baseball, like we're not Phillies fans, but that I felt terrible for Orion Kerkering, and to end your season like that just absolutely sucks. And I don't know about you, I felt like it was just sheer panic. I mean, it was just one of those things where like he gets the ball, and of course he had plenty of time to throw home or to throw it first and get Andy Pages and retire. It was 2 outs. All you have to do is throw the first, the inning's over, and you go to the 12th inning, and it's almost like he got the ground ball he needed, but then he had to field the position. It almost looked like he wasn't ready to field the position and get the out. Like he made the pitch he needed to do. He got out of the inning. That was the ground ball they needed. And he bobbles it a little bit, but even then has plenty of time to throw over to first if he wanted to. He instead panics and throws home. It's obviously a terrible throw. Even if it was a good throw, I don't know if he gets the runner there, Kim, at home. I mean, it would have been close, but you see Realmuto pointing at first saying like, you got time, Pages, you got plenty of time to throw him out at first. He didn't do it. It's one of those things where it's like panic sets in. It's playoff baseball at its finest. Unfortunately, it ends in heartbreak for the Phillies, but this is playoff baseball, and this is why we love it so much. It's just one of those things where it's like he panic set in. It's nothing else to say there besides panic set in. I think he said it in the post-game interview too. He was like, I obviously it was a mistake. It was a mistake. It's a heartbreaking way to end the season, but ultimately they only scored 1 run, George. That was the story of the game. I mean, that's the end of the game is what the story of the game was. But like the ultimate series story is the Phillies didn't score enough runs. I mean, at home, they didn't score enough runs. And then obviously on the road, they have that big Game 3 with Schwarber, 2 homers. But then Game 4, 1 run in 11 innings of work. Sasaki, again, what else can you say about the Dodgers? Their bullpen, what bullpen, right? And it's just started like Glasnow out of the bullpen, Sasaki out of the bullpen. Trinan got it done last night in game 1, or 2 nights ago in Game 1 against the Brewers. But the Dodgers arms, I mean, they're just neutralizing these high-powered offenses. They're doing it to the Brewers. They did it to the Phillies all series. Blake Snell is just lights out. Yamamoto goes complete game shutout. We'll get to that. But ultimately, the story of the Phillies-Dodgers series was the Phillies just did not get enough from their bats. I mean, their top of the order was kind of quiet, and that ultimately, you got to credit the Dodgers for that.
Yeah, I mean, we kind of talked about it. When you go into a playoff series, you don't need that many bullpen arms. Obviously, over the course of 162 games, you need you need a full arm bar, full thing of bullpen arms. But you come into a 5-game best-of-5 series, and if you've got a Tyler Glasnow, like a righty and a lefty, like a Alex Vesia and a Blake Trinan, a guy from both angles, and then obviously Roki on the back end has been incredible. But if your starters are going to give you 5, 6, 7 innings, you're going to be able to comfortably give the ball to just one of like 3 or 4 guys. I like Sheehan, him as well. I think he's been Emmett Sheehan.
Yeah, Emmett Sheehan. Yeah,
so it hasn't been a ton of guys, but as long as you trust those 3 or 4 dudes, you're going to get those outs, and that's kind of what the Dodgers have been doing. But yeah, it just felt like the Phillies just not anything in their bats at all. And you just, we talked about it before, the little break might have hurt them, might have helped them. Kind of is what it is. But, going back to the Kerkering thing, it's tough because as a pitcher, I mean, I've been there. I pitched for a long time. You throw that pitch, you maximum effort, maximum velocity, and you get the thing you want to happen. And then all of a sudden it hits off your foot and there's a lot of reactions happening. And so I think he just kind of took what was in front of him and is hoping to just deliver a strike to Real Muto.
Yeah.
Obviously he panicked, like he said, but it's just so unfortunate. But like you said, I mean, the story here is the lack of hitting. The Phillies, you can't win that game. Your bullpen and your arms gave you a great chance. You held the Dodgers to 1 run through, I think it was 10, 11 innings, whatever it was. So you got to assume with that kind of lineup that the Phillies have that they're going to get more than, 4 hits in that game and more than 2 extra base hits. So it really comes down to that. That's kind of all you can put it on. I mean, obviously Kerkering with the throw, but the Phillies need to be a little better. Yeah,
they just didn't get the big hit. The entire series, they did not get that big hit that they needed. And we can kind of segue right into we can say in the NL, we can segue right into the Dodgers-Brewers series. I mean, the Dodgers have continued that. I mean, you mentioned the pitching real quick. Blake Snell goes 8 innings in game 1. I don't know if we've ever seen Blake Snell look that dominant. And by the way, he's an awesome playoff pitcher. He's been a dominant playoff pitcher.
Cy Young winner. I mean,
he's a Cy Young winner. We saw how dominant he looked in Tampa Bay, in San Diego. He's a great playoff performer. Yet game 1 in the NLCS, I don't know if we've seen him look better. His stuff was unhittable. They lead that game 2-0 after 8 innings. The bullpen does get the job done. That was the first time we really saw Roki Sasaki not have it. And then Trinan comes in and gets the save. And you can talk about whether Bryce Terang should just let that ball hit him on that slider. That
it's so hard to do. I mean,
it's very tough to do. But
so
he
hard.
get out of the way. It would have been a hit by pitch, and that would have been tie game 2-2 as they would have walked in the run. But ultimately, he gets a strikeout on the very next pitch, and they get out of there 2-1. But other than that, the Dodgers bullpen has been unbelievable. Yeah, they haven't really needed to go to the bullpen that much because they get 8 innings of work out of Blake Snell of 0-run ball. And then last night, George, Yamamoto goes a complete game. It's the first complete game by a Dodger since 2003 in the NLDS against the St. Louis Cardinals. So he goes 9 innings, the complete 27 outs. He gets all 27 outs, and he only gives up 1 run on, I believe, 3 hits. I mean, it was just unbelievable, perfect baseball. The Dodgers are playing flawless baseball right now. It's almost like who can beat them if they're playing this way, if they're pitching this way. It's like, how do you stop this team, George?
Yeah, I mean, there's not much to say. I mean, if they're going to give you 17 out of the 18 innings from just their starters, I mean,
crazy.
You don't really have to worry about a bullpen problem, even when Roki doesn't have his best stuff. But just going back to Blake Snell, the book's kind of been out on Blake Snell for a long time. He's been a guy whose stuff's always been there, but to me, and it is, everyone's a little different, but to me, for Blake Snell, when he's locating those secondary and third pitches, when that curveball's landing, when that changeup is landing, it sets up that high octane fastball, right? And so, for a long time, he's kind of struggled with walks where, if you're not locating the off speed, they're just going to sit fastball because they don't trust that you're going to throw it for a strike. But Blake Snell's been locating everything. He's been limiting the walks, striking out all kinds of guys. And, you just kind of feel the Dodgers picking up this momentum as they go. And like I said, it's without Shohei. And so if Shohei gets going, it's just like, oh my goodness, there's not much to be done here. Not like there was much to be done before, but like we talked about, a team like the Brewers is very deep. It's a lot of really nice, well-rounded ball players, and it's a team where they kind of need to get into that Dodgers bullpen, and the Dodgers aren't letting them. They can't. They went into their building twice, and they're just showing them their best starters. And when you've got that kind of confidence in your rotation, and your lineup's eventually going to get something going with all those bats. That's kind of what you get with the Dodgers. It's just a buzzsaw right now. There's like, no, I'll default to you here.
Yeah. By the way, Dave Roberts, he was like, now if you're the Brewers, you probably have to be thankful that you're seeing someone besides Snell and Yamamoto. But by the way, game 3, it's going to be like the Ohtani Glasnow thing. So you're just facing more awesome starters. It's like, what do you like? There's no breaks in the lineup. Certainly, there's no breaks in the rotation. They can just keep throwing Cy Young candidates at you. It's just like, and I feel terrible for the Brewers because they were the best team in baseball all year long, best record. And they're running into a buzzsaw that they can do nothing about. I mean, it's literally like, I mean, it's hard to quantify how unbelievable the Dodgers. They have like 5 unbelievable starters that they can place. And again, it's like, what can you do if you're the Brewers? Obviously, they hit a bunch of home runs against the Cubs, won that series with the long ball in early innings. They were able to get to the Cubs bullpen for sure, obviously, but you can't get to the Dodgers bullpen when these guys are pitching the way they are. I mean, it's how do you even get to the bullpen when Snell's locating like he is? Yamamoto says, what bullpen? I'll go 27 outs. And Ohtani, he gave them 6 good innings against the Phillies. I know he allowed 3 runs against the Phillies, but they still won that game in game 1 against the Phillies. Glasnow out of the bullpen. It's just like, how do you hit this guy's stuff? And then obviously you got Sasaki, another starter that you kind of close. He's now the closer. And then Trinan, he's also got really good stuff too. So it's just like, I don't know how. And again, to hold the Brewers to 1 run in each of the last 2 games. So 1 run in game 1, 1 run in game 2 in their ballpark where they hit a lot better at home. It's just very impressive stuff. It's like, okay, if they're going to do that, at this point, just hand him the trophy. I mean, it doesn't. It's like, what can you do for the Brewers? It almost feels like it's an impossible feat because the Dodgers are playing literally flawless baseball right now. But it's it's what else can you say besides the Dodgers are just unbelievable? We could go to the AL side of things because the Dodgers are getting all the glory in the NL, obviously. But the AL side, holy cow, we mentioned it was wide open. The Tigers and Mariners go 15 innings in a winner-take-all Game 5. It's the longest game innings-wise ever in a winner-take-all game. George, we obviously know that Skubal had the ball for Game 5, winner-take-all. He went 6 beautiful innings, dominant. Little did we know that it would be 9 innings later before this game actually ended.
Yeah.
But yeah, it felt like an hour ago. It's like, oh yeah, Skubal. It felt like two weeks ago with the way with how long that game went, where Skubal pitched 6 dominant innings. They go to Kyle Finnegan. He allows the run to Luis Rivas to tie it at 2-2 in the 6th inning, and then there was no runs for 9 straight innings until the 15th. George, what the heck was that baseball game? That was postseason baseball at its finest. That was an unbelievable game.
It was a lot of fun. I mean, it was kind of what it's all about, right? Game 5, and we got Terry Skubal, one of the best, if not the best pitcher in baseball, on the mound for Detroit. I mean, it was a lot of fun in 15 innings. I mean, it was so intense. Felt like every inning, it felt like bases loaded once or twice for either side, and it was just like guys making incredible pitches to get out of it, and it was so fun to watch. I mean, the only thing, if I'm the Tigers here, obviously hindsight's 2020, and with your season on the line. And, I don't know what was said behind closed doors in the dugout, but I think you got to let Skubal empty the tank there. 99 pitches, it's a lot of pitches, and you're expecting him to pitch next series. But, 99 pitches is not something that he can't overcome. And an extra 15 to get through that 7th inning, who knows what that could have been the difference in, right? And I think Finnegan's great. I think he's got good stuff. But, Finnegan was kind of always a closer for the Nationals. Right? He was a guy that you put him in there in the 6th inning, he's a little bit fish out of water. And if he's not similar to Snell, if he's not locating that slider, not locating that splitter, they're just going to sit on that fastball and tee off. And one run was all they needed, right? It was a 2-1 ball game, but the 1 run is what he gave up. So it's unfortunate. It's a game where you feel like you wish both teams could win because they both clearly have a lot more relevant baseball left in them. But one team had to, and credit to the Mariners. It felt like Polanco kind of gets the big hit. It's just, and the first time he came up bases loaded, he like just missed it like down the line, I think, and then he obviously gets it done just fairly. So obviously he gets it done in his next chance. But the Mariners, I didn't think played their best game here. I mean, they struck out 20 times in this game.
They couldn't move a guy over.
They couldn't move a guy over. They definitely felt a little bit tense, a little bit tight against one of the best arms of baseball in Tarek Skubal. But credit to them, they battled, they scratched a couple across, and then once you get to extra innings, it's just who blinks first. And I don't even think the Tigers blinked. I think it's just the Mariners, eventually in the face. Eventually, they eventually got one through. So it was a really fun one, really fun Game 5. It's a shame teams got to lose, but it's the nature of the game. And it kind of feels like we lead into the next series we're going to talk about here. It just kind of feels like the Mariners grabbed that 15th inning momentum and just didn't put the bats down going into Toronto. I know you've got a lot to say here. I know it's a home game for you, but
it's tough.
I mean, you got to credit the Mariners, man.
No, to go back to the Tigers point, neither team blinked. I don't think the Tigers ever had any intention of putting Tommy Canley in the game. It's unfortunate that they literally ran out of arms. I mean, heck, they had to bring Jack Flaherty out, who was able to get out of some crazy inning double plays. He's another starter for them. The Mariners went desperate too. They said, we're going to bring in Logan Gilbert, our starter, to get through two and third innings. And then obviously they brought in Luis Castillo to get through an inning as well. Bizarre to all these guys. The Mariners went all hands on deck as well. Neither team blinked. They were able to make great defensive plays to get out of the inning. I mean, heck, the Tigers had bases loaded at a point, I believe, with Javi Baez up. I believe the Mariners had the bases loaded twice, or maybe 2 guys in scoring position at least twice, and Crawford wasn't able to get it done. Some other guys, but it was just unbelievable. The war of attrition. And by the way, this is all going to get lost in this. Kerry Bonds reached base 6 times in this game. He was, I believe, 4 for 4, and then they walked him twice intentionally, or maybe once they walked him, and then once they intentionally walked him. I mean, Kerry Carpenter hits the big 2-run homer off of the lefty spire to get the Detroit Tigers the lead. That was the only offense for the Tigers the entire night. Everyone else in that lineup was striking out, putting no productive outs at all for that Tigers offense. It was really just Kerry Carpenter. It was a shame to see because Torkelson had so many opportunities in that game. Javi Baez had a lot of opportunities in that game. A lot of guys. I mean, even Gleyber Torres. I mean, had a lot of opportunities in that game. Riley Green, same thing. They all had opportunities. The Mariners, same thing. It just felt like eventually the Mariners, that middle of the order, would eventually wake up, and they did. Naylor had 3 hits in that game. Polanco had the game winner. Eventually, that middle of the order was able to kind of wake up. Cal Raleigh was able to get on base a few times. So the Mariners just won the war of attrition. But neither team blinked. And you could obviously argue A.J. Hinch leave Skubal in for 7 innings. We saw Alex Cora leave Garrett Crochet in and make him pitch, I believe, 111 times. That 111 pitches, I believe he got to in that Game 1 Yankee series. Yeah, and Skubal, obviously, this is win or go home. There is no tomorrow. So you can say, save him for the next series. There is no next series if you don't get through the 7 innings. Unfortunately, a 1-run ball. You can obviously argue maybe Will Vest doesn't go 2 innings in that case, so who knows how they play it. But just credit to the Mariners, man. War of attrition, unbelievable game, and they took it right to the Toronto Blue Jays series. So I hate that we have to get into this, but The Jays are now down 2-0 in this ALCS. Yeah. This is unfortunately exactly what we had predicted. We did our MLB playoff predictions. I said out of everyone in the ALCS, I'm not really worried about our division teams, Boston, New York. I'm petrified of Seattle. That's the one matchup I don't want the Blue Jays to play them. I'm really worried if we were to play this team. I'm worried about their starting arms. The offense for the Blue Jays was unbelievable against the Yankees. They scored like 8 runs every game. Against the Mariners starting pitching, it's tough. Logan Gilbert's splitter is like the toughest pitch to hit in baseball. They obviously had Bryce Miller go in game 1, he was unbelievable. I mean, unbelievable stuff from a guy they did not think would go 6-7 innings that he did. Luis Castillo is on deck, I believe, for game 3. He's had success against the Blue Jays. They have Brian Wu waiting in the wings, and then George Kirby. So they have too many guys. It feels like honestly for the Blue Jays, we're just outmatched in this series. The starting pitching we knew wasn't there for us. We're relying on Max Scherzer, who now is back healthy in game 4 to kind of turn back the clock. He's kind of struggled this year. Can we get playoff Max Scherzer in game 4, or will it be too late? Will we be down 3-0 in that series? So who knows? It just feels like the Mariners pitching is the superior advantage here. I mean, obviously they have neutralized our offense to a huge degree. We have not been able to get into their bullpen like we were the Yankees, and we were able to get to the Yankees bullpen very early. We were not able to get to that Mariners bullpen, which by the way is really good anyway. So it's like we just saw the Mariners bullpen have like 10 innings of 0-run baseball against the Tigers. So we just saw the Mariners bullpen. And the Mariners bullpen has been good all year long. I mean, Andres Munoz is a dominant closer. The Yankees bullpen has been leaky up and down all year. So the Blue Jays, even if we can get into the Mariners bullpen, there's no guarantee we're going to tee off on those guys because those guys are all they're all flamethrowers. I mean, all these guys throw 100 miles an hour and they throw wicked off-speed stuff. So it's just really tough, unfortunately. And obviously, this is where you hate to say it, but it rears its ugly head. This is no Bo Bichette, the AL hits leader behind Bobby Witt. You need him in this lineup. It's a huge void in this lineup right now. I mean, you need him against this team to have a chance. And it feels like we don't have that big bat in the lineup, especially with Vladdy now going back to grounding out. He's kind of getting on top of the ball as opposed to in the Yankee series, he was lifting the ball. So it's just tough right now for the Blue Jays. Ultimately, though, I'm super stoked that we got this far. I mean, the series isn't over, but it's not looking good. I'm wondering what you're going to say about it, but sure. I don't think it's not looking good right now, George. But I'm still very proud of the way the Blue Jays. If this is it, and if they're eliminated by the time we record next, I'm still very proud of the season that we've had because we were supposed to be not in the playoffs. I mean, we were supposed to not even be here. So it's a big step up for the Blue Jays this year. But it does look like we have ran into the better team, which is the Seattle Mariners.
Yeah, no, and you guys should be proud. Obviously, the season or game's not over, series isn't over. 2-0, it's very doable. And Max Scherzer is one of those guys, but you just don't know what you're going to get out of him. I think he's pitching game 4, so
Bieber tonight.
Bieber tonight, then Scherzer's game 4. But this is a series where it doesn't feel like either team kind of turned into something new, right? We talked about all year where the Jays put the ball in play. They don't really hit the long ball a ton. They don't strike out though. And the Mariners, we didn't really talk about it a ton going into it, but it's a team that strikes out that obviously hits a bunch of home runs. Cal Raleigh, top of that list. And that's kind of what's happened here. I mean, even in that 10-3 game, Mariners struck out 14 times. The Jays just 5. But they had 1, 2, 3, 4. They had 4 or 5 different extra base hits. And the Jays had 1. It was a Springer double, and then the game 1 it was a Springer homer. So outside of Springer, it's really not much going on at all.
By the way, George, outside of Springer, no one else in this team has been in the ALCS. So this is all new stuff.
It's a young team. It's a new exactly. It's new. New territory for them, but it's new territory for a lot of the Mariners, I think, too.
Sure,
this is a Mariners dynasty that hasn't seen a lot of playoff success in recent memory, really at all, really ever. And then it's tough. You got a guy like Trey Savage, and I like Trey Savage a lot, but you're asking a lot of him. ALCS, it's an intense start against the Seattle team that's just raring to go with all the momentum. And he threw fine. He wasn't terrible, but 5 earned runs. It's a bit steep. You want to look.
Well, one of them was the intentional walk to Raleigh. It's like he didn't put him on, but it's you
walk
Raleigh and then Polanco hits the homer.
Yeah, so, Polanco's been just clutch. Credit to him in this series. But I mean, you got to. This is one of those where we predicted this, and I was really excited if we did get it. Obviously, I thought it would be a touch more competitive, and you don't know yet. It's only 2-0.
Right.
But I like the Jays still. I think that the series isn't over. I mean, not Toronto. Seattle's got a bunch of arms. They got. It's Kirby for game 4. Who's pitching game 3?
I believe it's Castillo.
Castillo game 3 and Kirby game 4. So it's not like you're getting any easier, right?
No.
But you just don't know because if the Mariners stop hitting the long ball, maybe stop hitting the extra base, and those strikeouts start to add up, you just don't know, right? So I think you gotta. It's hard to really go with the Jays here, and I'm not saying that they're going to turn it around, but I mean, credit to them for getting this far. Obviously, you kind of saw Vladdy It almost felt like Vladdy in the Yankee series. It was like, he elevated because of the Yankees, and I think there's something to be said there where a lot of these Jays guys, that division race down the stretch where, the whole Springer clip and everything, they felt that New York Yankees kind of that heat, and they rose to the occasion. So you got to give them credit there. But, it almost felt like the Mariners like snuck up on them. It's like you're so worried about the Yankees that, here are the Mariners, by the way, who've got the home run leader and who've got Eugenio Suarez hitting like sixth in that order, all these arms, all these bullpen guys, and Seattle's just ready to rock, I'm sure, tomorrow or tonight.
Yeah.
So it'll be.
By the way, we said this on the thing. I said that, and it's weird because the Vegas odds suggested that the Yankees were the best team in the American League. So once the Jays dispatched to them, everyone kind of assumed, okay, the Blue Jays are now home free. I think we both mentioned it. The Yankees were actually a stylistically better matchup for the Jays.
Yeah.
Because the Yankees defense is not very good. The Blue Jays do put the ball in play. They do draw walks. Again, it's a very advantageous matchup. The Blue Jays beat them 13 times out of the 16 times they played this year. So they had the Yankees number. I believe it was 12 out of 16 times. So they had their number.
Yeah.
The Mariners, I've always said this is the one team. Cal Raleigh owns the Blue Jays like I've never seen a single player own a team before. He hits, I believe he's hit 10 home runs in Rogers Center. He's only played here like 14 times. So he basically hits a homer a game every time he plays here. So he basically, again, he's averaging almost a homer every time he plays in Rogers Center. So it's very tough. We have a lot of pitchers that are split changeup heavy, and they're low ball pitchers. Well, what's Kyle Riley's favorite pitch? It's a off speed down in the zone where you can kind of lift it and carry it out of here. So our pitchers are good pitchers. Gosman's an awesome guy, but unfortunately he made one mistake in that game, which was that pitch to Cal Raleigh, which he hit 400 feet. And then obviously Trey Savage has that splitter. Unfortunately, he leaves that splitter up against Julio Rodriguez. He sends it out for a 3-run homer. He made two bad pitches all game. It was the 3-run. It was a splitter they left up to Julio, and it was the one against Polanco that he hit a homer off of. So the long ball right now is going in favor of Seattle. They have a bunch of power hitters in that lineup. I mean, we mentioned it: Naylor, Suarez, Raleigh, Julio's got power. They got a lot of power in that lineup, and the starting pitching is just unfair. So I mean, Seattle's loaded. Make no mistake about it. I was never overlooking Seattle. I mean, maybe the Blue Jays fans.
Yeah, not you per se, but
right. People were like, "Oh, they beat the Yankees. They're home free." I never once thought the Yankees were our toughest challenge. I always figured Seattle was going to be the toughest team that we had to face. I'm still getting PTSD from the 2022 Wild Card Series, where we had an 8-1 lead and Seattle charged back to beat us 10-9. A lot of players on that team that are still here: Suarez, Cal Raleigh, Julio. A lot of those guys are still here. Luis Castillo, George Kirby, all those guys, Logan Gilbert, Munoz, all those guys are still here. So it's still a lot of that nucleus who it felt like once they got past the division series, it's like a burden was lifted off their back. It's like, okay, now we can play free. We're a place where we've never been before since 2001. We've never gone to the World Series. It's like, hey, let's just play. We're playing with house money now. People favored the Jays, and the Mariners look like the infinitely better team for sure. So credit to them. It looks like we're on a collision course to Mariners-Dodgers, George.
Yeah, it looks that way, and it just kind of leaves you wondering what would have happened if the Tigers had taken that 15-inning game against the Mariners, because
much better matchup for us,
probably a better matchup, and you were all over it. Stylistically, you're right. The Mariners do present a lot bigger challenge, and I think the Mariners defense is a little better than that Yankees defense, where some of those and obviously I think I love Jazz Chisholm, that double play ball up the middle that changed the entire game, but like stuff like that, the Mariners feel like a team that's pretty well coached, pretty well rounded. And that team, there's some magic there in Seattle. Something's going on. So
I mean, I'm telling you, these outfield, Rosarena, Julio in the outfield, those are good. They're making plays this whole series. I mean, heck, Naylor's making heck of a plays on a bad leg. First
he's
base.
Stealing bases and stuff. I mean, it was
Mariners
was crazy.
Yeah. All right, that is it for part 1 of this 2-part episode. Same thing as last week. We're gonna go MLB episode, which we just wrapped up here. Be on the lookout for part 2 of this episode, where we're talking about the college football landscape, James Franklin being fired. And then obviously to recap the NFL Week 6. We have all that coming up for you in part 2. But as for now, we will see you next time.